What's up? It's your boy RJ, and you're now tuned into the check-in.
There were certain things that I realized that were not, it wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And I tolerated certain things. You know, I've always been in multiple arenas where like I could be valued in one and then diminished in another.
Yeah.
Or I could make this much money doing this one thing,
Yeah.
but I'm diminished in this realm.
Yeah.
And it was really like even conversations with my wife, conversations with my therapist.
Yeah.
Which that's important too.
You got to get a
Conversation-
therapist.
Yes.
Put a
that's
pin in
so-
that because everybody
yes.
needs a therapist. You can't do this on your
Everybody
own.
needs a therapist. You can't do life on your own.
Yeah.
And the bigger part about that is when you feel as though the things that you have to say cannot be taken by other people,
Right.
then you need a therapist to be able to help you navigate your thoughts. Because that's where your mind can get jacked up. When you feel as though you've got it, I can do this. I can operate. I can do all these things on my own.
Yeah.
It's not possible. Yes, you can take things to God in prayer.
Yeah.
100%. But you need somebody who can give you a strategic plan and ideas and perspective as to what you're actually going through and how you're coping with things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man. So I realized, like you said, I was just doing it to doing it. And I looked at my potential as though it was something that would come as a result of me being consistent in this.
Yeah.
And if I keep playing, if I just be diligent in what I'm doing, then God's gonna make a way. And God's like, nah.
Yeah.
Like, no. And he was confirming that in multiple ways. Like, you have to make a move. It's not that God's not going to be glorified in this ministry. And I think that's where there's a misunderstanding. God can still use any situation how he wants, and people are going to grow, lives are still going to be changed, but it's not contingent upon me.
Yeah.
And I had to let go. That's what it was for me.
Yeah.
I had to let go and say, hey, like, I've got multiple things changing. I've got to be able to be mentally here for myself so I can be there for my child. I've got to be mentally here for myself with God so that way I can be there to support my wife. But I hadn't held my wife's hand, I mean, periodically, but I hadn't held my wife's hand in worship. Like, in a church setting for almost 10 years.
Bro.
You know what I mean? Like that, what does that do for her? What is it, like so we're navigating that now to where we are really changing our growth with God. Our growth with God is changing. We're realizing the areas where it was weird. We're realizing those different paths that were kind of just like nudged to the side. And so I'm really grateful, man, just for even the changing out. It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult to walk away from a 10-year relationship.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Every breakup is tough. Yeah.
Every breakup's tough. But what are we looking to get out of it?
So we talked about loving things in the right order. And when you don't, that's disordered love. I think the other thing is that we have to understand that no matter how great we are, no matter how much we're revered, people, like being around our gifts, we also have to love things in the right season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And my mom always tells me, enjoy the season. Because I mean, to think that you're always going to be this way for the rest of your life is who would want to, first of all.
Right.
The second thing is get what you came to get from this particular season of your life, add it to the next phase of your life. Because the thing about it is you also have to learn what happens when I stay too long.
Right.
What am I holding up and who am I holding up?
Right.
And so,
because you are holding up something.
Yeah. And so it was the hardest thing because again, I had done this for so long. It was the hardest thing to think. It was the hardest thing to think that the church could go on without me. Just being real, because I have done it for so long. I had been connected for so long. I had been leading for so long. The church can't do it without me. Yes, they can.
Yeah.
And you have no idea who you're holding up or what you're holding up. And I'm like, well, but I grew it to this space, or I grew it to this level, or I brought change at this capacity. You're still holding something up.
You're holding something
You're still
up.
holding somebody up, and it may be holding you up.
Yep.
You see what I'm
And
saying?
that's a big thing. That's a big thing. I started realizing how things change after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's just kind of where I'm at, man. But I love what you said about not being able to hold your lady's hand in worship and what that did for her.
Yeah.
And the funny thing I thought about is I've been playing for so long, I didn't even know what to do with my hands. You know what I mean?
Man, yo.
That's another conversation for another day. We got to come back and do this again
that's a whole thing.
because
That's a whole thing.
you talking about, worship and affection having a conversation. That's
Yeah.
deep. Where affection and worship have a conversation, what that does
Wow.
for your home life. That's loving
Yes.
it in the right order, by the way. So
Yep. Mhm.
kudos to you. But individually, I'm talking about for the musicians who played all their life and don't have a person in their life. Again, I played so long I didn't know what to do with my hands. And that's
Wow.
a problem. I'm just now learning what to do with my hands. If I'm
Man.
not teaching, if I'm not playing, if I'm
Right.
not telling someone what that's a whole nother conversation in and of itself because they trained me, they groomed me to be on church staff.
Sheesh.
But
to do that, to do
yeah.
your one thing, to do your one thing.
Yeah. Oh, to even do your many things because I was the jack of all trades.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yo,
I was the jack of all trades. I could teach
Same here,
with the
man.
best of them.
Yep.
I could preach with the best of them. I could play with the best of them. I knew what the ushers were supposed to do. Never been a deacon, but could be a deacon too. You know what I mean? I knew how to do it. But what is your biggest apology after your departure from the church? And I'll always tell you mine to give you a second to think.
Yes,
But my
please.
biggest one is to my family. I remember there were nights where I had my daughter with me till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Man.
Or I would leave all day and because I thought it was ministry, it validated my absence.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
I thought ministry was validation for my absence. And my parents would tell me all the time, they would be like, yo, that is not your legacy. Unfortunately and fortunately, you're just an employee. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're an
Yeah, yeah.
employee. Keep that in
Yeah.
mind. Keep the main thing, right? But it was almost like I took on the ministry as my own legacy, and I was never in the. I took on the ministry as my own legacy, and I was never in the succession plan.
Oh
So
my
imagine
gosh.
doing the work, doing the things, laying foundation. I'm talking
Yo.
about literally building bricks,
Bro,
only to find
I
out.
hear you.
Only to find out you were never a part of the succession plan, and
Man.
you use ministry to validate your absence from your own offspring. They're with their legacy, taking trips, doing what they got to do, doing their own
Yeah,
thing,
man.
pastoring their home. You know what I mean? Loving it in the right order.
Yeah.
And because you're doing it in public, you think your ministry
Wow.
is validation for your absence. That's my biggest apology. I'm
Yeah.
trying to love it in the right order. I hope I gave you enough time.
No, that's great. I think my biggest apology is really to God. And
Yeah.
I know that sounds cliche.
Yeah.
But there have been times when I've heard
Yeah.
and I didn't listen.
Yeah.
Where there could have earlier in the phase to where I could have made my process
Yeah.
a lot easier. When I could have been obedient to what he was asking for me to do, to be able to do. The other thing would be to my family, my wife included, my siblings, because at the end of the day, I'm relearning what this is supposed to look like. I'm reorganizing. I'm really trying to stick with that theme there, but really learning how to love in what order. Like, to my wife, like at the time, of course, my fiance and my girlfriend, but for not really being that, like there was no sense of accountability there. I couldn't have.
Yeah.
So, man, that would definitely be it for me.
Again, we talked
Yeah.
about the transparency. I appreciate you including your wife in it because
No,
you got
thank
to
you.
understand that when we take on things in ministry, our family takes those things on too.
So important.
Yeah, I wasn't, I didn't choose this. I was born into
Right.
it. My parents, I didn't have,
Yep.
I didn't have options. I don't know if you did, but
No,
I didn't have any options.
let's talk about that too, because I watched my parents
Yeah.
do the same thing.
Yeah.
I watched my parents open up the doors of their house
Yeah.
for people.
Yeah.
For anyone, out of the name of helping others, right?
Yeah.
It's not that the idea of it was bad, but your kids had to then deal with that later
Yeah.
in their life. So I have no problem giving the shirt off my back or
Yeah.
having a place to stay. But also that can be to my own detriment.
Yeah.
And realizing the line that can be drawn with that, because I grew up, me and my wife, we grew up
Yeah.
in a place to where we were both our parents both extended for ministry.
Yeah.
And there weren't clear boundaries. And so, man, you hit it dead on.
What's your biggest advice to the musician that's still playing in church?
For the biggest thing is you have to. I seen a clip today, and I'm gonna go back to that question.
Yeah.
I seen a clip that was talking about the idea of a relationship with God, realizing that like you can't. The way this person was painting it was that you can't really build a relationship with God. You can develop like you can grow into what God has for you. When you think about like your daughter, your love hasn't changed for your daughter.
Yeah.
But as for your daughter, realizing the importance of wanting to be able to connect, it's not contingent upon your love for her.
Yeah.
Like your love for her doesn't change. So I'm realizing you have to realize that God loves you. That's the first thing I want to say to the musician. And you have to put yourself in positions to where God can be a priority in your life aside from your music. God dealt with me on so many levels just building this studio without me touching an instrument.
Yeah.
We're talking, I'm working with a drill. I had time to be able to be here
Yeah.
and to be able to really connect with God. So everything you do can't be based around your gift.
Yeah.
Everything you do can't be based around music. Everything you do can't be based around your gift. Everything you do can't be based around music. You have to be in a community of people who hold you accountable to want to grow in God. You have to be willing to have conversations with people like this, like RJ, and to be able to go through and have an outcome from it, right? It can't stop at the conversation, then you go and still do the gig. And at the same time, I'm not telling you got to go quit. You got to quit your church.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying.
Just love it in the right order.
Love it in the right order.
That's it.
That's the main thing. And right now, I'm in the process of finding that order and putting things in place.
Yeah.
But that would be the main thing. Everything can't be based around your gift. You have to be open to reading your Bible
Yeah.
without music.
Yeah.
Bro, you know how difficult it is for me to like just take in. I realized how musical
Yeah.
my brain was, and how it's okay to have life without music. Like, it's okay to hear a pastor without music behind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Even
yes,
when
it
he's
can help.
hooping.
Even that. And coming to that point to where I could realize that you have to turn that off in your brain sometime.
Yeah.
That's really where it was for me, man.
And
that's what I recommend
I'm
for
going to keep
others.
mine really short.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it this way. Everybody's not a Levite, and everybody's not David.
Okay.
Stop
Yes.
using David to justify your imperfections.
Yes.
I'm a man after God's own heart. No. If I could do anything over again, it's the comparison of calling or acting like just because I serve, I'm David.
That.
Because the truth
And
of the
it's 'cause
matter
it's
is
thrown on us.
ain't nobody fighting Goliath.
Come on.
You know, and the only Goliaths that we're fighting are the ones that are in our own that we create.
Come on, the ones that we create.